Hey guys, welcome. This is Brad Krantz. Thanks for joining me today on my Monday Morning Leadership, second week of January 2021, ready to start. And this message is really kind of a follow-up to my end of the year message I did week of New Year's Eve. And I'm taking it from an article John Maxwell put out, leadership lessons from 2020 to take into 2021, because there's kind of some dovetails to what I talked about. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit to some of my thoughts closing the year out. But you've no doubt seen, we all have, and I've posted even a lot of posts and videos trying to sum up 2020, right? Whether it's a list, the best books of the year, which I do with my pastor, or a list of the best lists of 2020. It's kind of natural to look back at the end of the year and review what we've learned. And hopefully we can ask the question and answer it. What did we learn? What did you learn? Okay, so I shared some of my thoughts about 2020. One was expect the unexpected, right? That kind of hit us. Nobody really expected, planned for, could have foreseen COVID. And then two was change and pivot, which I'm going to talk about here coming up. Three was adapt. Four was the need for long-term thinking. And five was persevere. So I like what John Maxwell offered in the way of wisdom and observations here. So I'm going to briefly share them. He talks about his lesson one was difficult times separate growers from groaners. And I could say it from the diminishers to the multipliers maybe, but our character really comes out during challenging times, doesn't it? For growers, we're going to be the kind of person that rolls with the punches, looks for options and opportunities, hopes for the best while working to make it happen, and then keeps putting one foot in front of the other because we know it's going to help us in the long run, right? Growers stay in the fight, and I'll say multipliers, my term, because they believe in possibility, right? On the other hand, you got the groaners, the diminishers. They give up the fight if they ever took it on to begin with. And they're the kind of person that stopped dead in their tracks. They're complaining loudly about how much they wish things could be just like they used to, right? They groan about having to change, right? My number two thing was we had to change and pivot this last year. Okay, groaners don't do that. They groan about that the changes are painful, right? Nobody necessarily likes change, but it's part of life and you have to get used to it. You have to learn how to deal with it and adapt, right? Another term I used. Groaners don't do anything to make the difficult times any easy. So I could put in the category article I did on LinkedIn here, a year plus ago, about diminishers versus multipliers. So I could say, who do you want to be, a diminisher or a multiplier? Lesson two was there's no such thing as fully prepared. And again, that was kind of my main point out of 2020 is yet expect the unexpected, or in the financial realm, plan for the unexpected to happen. And it did, right? In the midst of challenging circumstances like we had last year, it becomes pretty obviously very quickly that we don't know the future as well as we think, right? Nobody does. Even the best prepared leaders can be caught out by the unexpected, something that COVID illustrated pretty well, didn't it? And still is. We might prepare for one set of circumstances only to face something completely different, right? So even the smartest world can't plan and prepare for every contingency. You just can't, right? There are limits to what we can know, see, and plan for. So because of that, being caught off guard isn't a crime or even a bad thing. It just provides we acknowledge the truth of our situation, right? We've got to accept reality as it is, and not as we wish it were. But can't be fully prepared, right? His third point was that there's nowhere to hide in a crisis, right? You can try to, I guess, hide under a rock or bury your head in the sand, but when things are going well, it's really easy for people to get by with poor work habits, unintentional growth, or middling relationship skills, et cetera, et cetera. Prosperity covers a multitude of sins. And then we as leaders can tend to, and I think a lot of companies saw this too, they could tend to excuse things in themselves, their company, their teams, that would cost us dearly if circumstances were different. Well, in a crisis, circumstances are different. And the lax attitudes and habits that we glossed over during the good times come directly to the front at bad times, where a lot of companies shored up, they cut back, they scaled back. A lot of economic assessment says we may rebound, or companies may rebound stronger because they kind of became lean and mean. But, think of a lake in the middle of a drought. And I like his illustration here. The longer the drought, the less water there is in the lake. And as the water recedes, you begin to see more and more of the trash that the water covered over, right? The good news is that once the trash is revealed, you can clean it up and establish better habits to avoid repeating the same mistakes. So it does give us a chance to grow. Fourthly, hope is a choice, right? Of all the 2020 lessons, Maxwell says he thinks this is one of his favorites, and I think I would take that too. That we have to have hope, right? Many companies, people, leaders, teams have done what's necessary to pivot and remain in business. There's that term again, change and pivot. Not all companies, I'll say not all leaders, not all teams have actually embraced hope. Sometimes we choose to act out of desperation. We swing for the fences, right? It's simply because we don't know what else to do. And that's not the same as hope. So hope takes big swings. It does so with the expectations that things will get better, that actions we take today will produce positive outcomes tomorrow or down the line. So hope says there's a way forward as long as we work to find it. All other positions from pessimism, pragmatism to optimism suggest that our future is out of our hands. So hopefully my message today in closing is that we as leaders know this is simply not true. We can choose to shape the future, even if we can't control it. So I encourage you to set aside time for genuine reflection on the year that was and the year that is to come. That's an important step that we can all take. So I hope this message offers some encouragement, some perspective. Certainly feel free to hit the subscribe button if you got value out of this message and want to hear future messages. And I will leave my contact information for reaching out to me on social media, which I also encourage you to do. So thanks so much for joining me today, guys. Have an awesome Monday, and let's make 2021 rock. Okay, bye-bye.